In 1993, Samuel L. Jackson got a role for a character that is going to change his life, and at the same time it will change the film industry. On the outside he is a cold-hearted killer, but on the inside he is fighting a war with himself. Jackson is using Jules Winnfield to portray the philosophical hitman, providing the moral and the spiritual backbone of the film. His journey from a cold-blooded killer who recites scripture for intimidation to a man who truly seeks to make a change in his life for good marks the most significant character arc in the movie. This role proved that Jackson was the only actor who understood Tarantino's vision. Pulp Fiction not only became one of the most iconic movies of all time, but it also established the foundation of a legendary relationship between an actor and a director. With the role of Ordell Robbie, we see an instant change, not just from the script but also from the way Samuel played it. If Jules was a hitman with a soul who thought people could change for the better, Ordell is a predator, a man who has a deeper meaning that most people miss. The character was built to have the mindset of a person who doesn't trust nobody. Ordell thinks that everyone tries to take advantage of him, and that makes him trade his humanity for a lifestyle of a cold-blooded paranoid arms dealer. He's arguably the most realistic villain in the Tarantino universe. This underrated masterpiece demonstrated that Jackson could play the absolute antagonist while maintaining the audience attention through sheer terrifying charisma. By the mid-2000s, Jackson had become a regular with Tarantino's filmography. His cameo as Rufus the organ player represents the soul. Even though the role is small, it serves as a massive thematic purpose. Rufus is the only character who offers a moment of peace to the bride before the tragedy at the chapel. The role of Rufus in Kill Bill Volume 2 is actually a kind of a glue between the two distinct universes of Quentin Tarantino. Also, there is a popular fan theory that Rufus is actually Jules Winnfield years later, having finally fulfilled his promise to walk the earth. Whether or not this is true, Samuel's presence is felt as the core of the Tarantino universe continuity. It showed that Jackson didn't need the lead role to leave his footprint on this movie. Jackson's evolution moved away from the physical into the unseen. As the uncredited narrator, he became the omniscient guide. Tarantino realized that Jackson's voice carried such a profound weight that he could use it as a structural tool to explain complex historical or technical plot points. By having Samuel narrate the explosive properties of nitrate film or the brutal backstory of Hugo Stiglitz, Tarantino was acknowledging that the actor's voice was now synonymous with his own directorial authority. This phase proved that even when Jackson wasn't on the screen, his presence and delivery were essential to create a real Tarantino masterpiece. While in other movies Sam Jackson played characters that everybody loved, in Django Unchained he played his role with such profound fire that he created controversy in the real world. Steven is a villain who is willing to obey his master like never seen before, just so he can hide the fact that he is the true intellect power behind the plantation. Jackson played a man playing a role. The fragile old man was just a front for a ruthless strategist. This was a big moment of trust between the two. Tarantino needed an actor who can handle the heaviest and most provocative racial dialogue in the modern cinema without losing the character's terrifying intelligence. Steven is the detective of the plantation, the only person smart enough to see through the protagonist's disguises, proving that Jackson's characters were becoming more iconic and more dangerous with each new movie. The final phase of the Tarantino evolution is centered on the Hateful Eight, where the partnership truly became a whole. But to understand their relationship, we have to go back more than 20 years. In 1991, Tarantino was just a former video store clerk that got his chance to direct his first movie. While Jackson was a respected actor but still on the grind, Sam showed up to the audition for the role of Holdaway in the movie Reservoir Dogs. He was expecting a high-level professional environment but was shortly disappointed. That's why Sam thought Tarantino was awful. He didn't think that Quentin was an awful person. He thought Quentin was an awful actor. But a year later, Sam and Quentin met again. When he spotted Tarantino walking down the street, Jackson walked up right at him. He told Tarantino how much he loved the film but couldn't resist his ego, and he said, "Yeah, the movie was great, but it would have been a hell lot of better if I was in it." Instead of being offended by Jackson's ego, Tarantino beamed with excitement. He remembered Jackson's audition perfectly. He looked Jackson in the eye and said, "Don't worry, I'm writing something for you right now." 20 years later, Samuel L. Jackson had been the ultimate supporting force, but in this film, Tarantino finally made him the protagonist. As Major Marcus Warren, Jackson isn't just a character in the story, he is the lens through which we see the entire movie. This phase represents the intellectual dominance of their collaboration, where Jackson's character is so smart and so cynical that he easily becomes the director proxy on screen. What makes this phase so powerful is how he weaponizes his distrust in people to read them like an open book. In the brutal post-Civil War landscape of the film, Warren's distrust isn't a personal flaw, it's his greatest survival tool. He assumes everyone is lying to him because in his experience, that is the only way a black man survives in American West. This leads to a masterclass in psychological warfare and detective work that brings together every skill Jackson had honored in his previous roles. Thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments which Tarantino-Jackson collaboration is your favorite.